up here? How old's your grandkids up here?
The oldest one.
Good evening, welcome to Gordcast, where I'm this evening at Ed and Rings Place, and Ed is having sort of a pre-leadership social here for Tony Wakeham, and a number of people have gathered here at Ed's and Anne's home. And first of all, Ed is there chatting. I'd like to say hello to Ed. And Ed, what made you decide on this? And first you can just say hello to the folks that are tuning in here, Ed. And I thank you on behalf, I'm sure, of Tony. Later I will speak with Tony, David Brassel is there, and another other people here, prominent people that have been involved in the leadership campaign. Anyway, Ed, I think it's a great gesture, and I'd like to let you say a few words here, Ed.
Thank you very much, my friend. It's a pleasure. First of all, Anne and I, over the years, have had a little bit of a tradition of having fish fries and so on and so forth, and having our friends over. But I know Anne and the whole team supporting Tony have been very, very busy for the last number of months, and I guess with the leadership convention coming up and on this coming weekend, we thought it would be a great opportunity to have Tony and Patricia and some of the people that have been working so hard on Tony's behalf to ensure that he's going to win this leadership out for a meal, with a little bit of the pressure off, and it's all nice and sociable, and it's just great to see everybody coming together and for such a good cause.
Yeah, I know myself, and Anne said that you were cooking. It was, very Newfoundland tradition. It was codfish and homemade fries. First of all, on behalf of the group, it was absolutely excellent, Ed. So you've done a superb job there,
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I love doing it. I don't mind going down in the basement and listening to the boss telling me that more fries, keep going, keep going.
And I know you publicly came out yourself and endorsed Tony Wakeham.
Yep.
Why?
Well, I tell you, when I was working for the government, I worked for the Public Service Commission and so on, and about 9.5, almost 10 years before I retired, I was the Information and Privacy Commissioner for the province. So Tony was the CEO for Grenfell and Grenfell Health, and so I got to know him through that position, and I liked what I saw. From my perspective, he displayed the attributes of a good leader. He cares for his people. He cares for the things he believes in. So, having had the opportunity now since Tony's come out to chat with him and to have discussions, those feelings are just more confirmed than they've ever been in the past. So I think he's got all the attributes that we need in this province to make the province thrive and be prosperous, and for people to have a good life here, and they deserve it here in Newfoundland and Labrador.
And I'll ask you, we will all know in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador who the next new leader is. It will be announced on Saturday evening.
Yep.
Ed, how confident are you, Ed?
I'm very confident. I think the indicators are looking really great. I know my wife Anne has been involved heavily with a lot of the other volunteers in terms of the polling. I think I'm optimistic, and I'm looking forward to the announcement on Saturday night for sure. I'm going to be there.
Yeah, and from what I saw, yourself and Anne, and I'm talking, Anne is the wife of, again, Ed here, and I'll have Anne on here very shortly. Behind every good man, there's a good woman, and vice versa, I feel. So, Ed, on behalf of Tony and the campaign, I first of all thank you for inviting everyone here this evening, and now I will ask you to get your wife over here and let's see what she's been involved.
That sounds great, Gord, and I'll do my best to do that right now.
Okay, you get her right now, because as you're all aware, folks, the Toronto Maple Leafs are playing tonight, and I will be home to watch the game. I will be having my Gord cast that will be starting a little later here this evening. So I'll ask Anne to get over here as fast as she can, because I think it's going to be taking priority here within the hour. here we go. We have Anne Ring here. Anne has been heavily involved with the Tony Wakeham campaign. And first of all, Anne, I think it was a great gesture that you and your husband inviting the people belong to the Tony Wakeham campaign who were, like you say, part and partial, and no one has worked harder than you. And give a little reason who you are, why you supported Tony Wakeham here, Anne.
Well, I've been involved in the PC party, I guess, my whole life. When we moved home in 1992, I got re-involved. Dave was in the military, so we spent a lot of time away. I believe in the principles of the PC party. I believe what Tories stand for. There's an old saying, Gord, I'm sure you've heard it. Tories offer you a hand up, Liberals offer you a hand out. And I have believed that my whole life. I have always believed that Tories try to make things better for the people of this province and the country. So I've always supported the PC party. When I was retired, home hanging out with my grandchildren, and Dave Brazel called me and asked me if I'd come and meet Mr. Wakeham. I said, yeah, I will. I really don't want to get really heavily involved in a campaign, but I will do it. I'll come and meet him. But when I met him, I've been in that office every day from 9 to 5 and all evenings because I believe in Tony Wakeham. I think Tony Wakeham is the person who can change this province, who can bring us where we need to be. I truly believe that he will be an awesome leader of our party. And with him, we can move on to take the 2019 election because he's got the leadership skills that this province needs.
I would think, Anne, right from the beginning, right from the initial stages when you saw when you were looking to sign people up, there's obviously been growth in the campaign. Unfortunately, we were restricted to 1 month where we can sign on people. But did you see the growth throughout Newfoundland and Labrador with regards to his popularity and people starting to buy in as him being the next leader of the Progressive Conservative Party of Newfoundland and Labrador and a person who could make be an excellent premier of this province?
Absolutely. What I saw in the beginning was that a lot of people didn't know Tony. People that knew him really liked him and were on board immediately. As he got more known, we noticed that it was a swell happening, that people were starting to push us. We were following them because they were out signing up people. They wanted to help Tony Wakeham. We had calls to the office. People wanted to help. He's a good man, and people that have come in contact with him through his videos, through his Facebook, through the debates, through him calling people, have come to realize that Tony Wakeham is the man who will lead this party, and we need him.
Yeah, and I'm sure, as I said to your husband, I'll say on behalf of Tony Wakeham here, once I get him up to the mic, first of all, I want to thank you and your husband for this gesture here today. It kind of brings unity, which Tony Wakeham is all about, and it shows the leadership that we've had in this campaign with Anne Ring and her husband Ed. So on behalf of Tony, I thank you, and I definitely thank you for all the work. And it was second to none, your class act, and I think maybe all your hard work will show on Saturday. How confident are you on Saturday?
Very, absolutely confident. I think we've all done an amazing job. We've all worked really hard. Tony's not a hard man to work for. He's a very easy person. He's a team player, which is one thing that I really, really like about him. And he brings his family. His wife Patricia, his son Chris has been helping. They are a class act, so it's not hard to work really hard for them, and I'm proud to be able to do that.
Okay, again, Anne, I thank you and your husband for what you've done here this evening. And
we'll chat on Sunday. We'll chat on Saturday night when he wins.
We will be there Saturday night and see what happens. Okay, now I want another guy to come home. This guy here is going to surprise a lot. No, not yet. I'm going to ask, will I have another Tony come over here? Tony too. For a lot of you people in the province that are very familiar with the Open Line program, that would be Open Line in the morning. Then for the longest time it was Back Talk, and then it was Nightline. But there is one man in this province that always seemed to me to wear a mask. No one really knew who he was, and once I explained his name, he was always known as Tony the Tory. And I couldn't wait to meet him my first time. He preaches he only sees PC blue. There's no doubt, but the man knows he's worked behind the scene. Anyway, I'd like to introduce to you right now Tony Imberly, who is known throughout Newfoundland and Labrador as Tony the Tory. Tony, take it away.
Thank you, Gord.
Okay, Tony, you support it. Obviously, you've been around politics a long time. You follow the leadership. You were there for the last one. This time you came out publicly and supported Tony Wakeham. Why?
Well, Tony's a down-to-earth person. He's a hard-working man. He came from, like his parents came from Pittyford, fisherman community. Tony was born in Vicentia Bay, and he knew what it was like to work. He came up in the fishery. He used to go door-to-door selling small fish for 50 cents, the big one for $1. So he knew what it was like. And then he knows about healthcare, that he worked in that most of his life. Well, he's retired at it. So he's been around as well. I mean, we lived right from St. John's to Labrador and everywhere in between. So he knows what it's like.
Obviously, not only is Newfoundland and Labrador looking to select a new leader here, we are looking at in 2019, as of November in 2019, we're looking at a provincial election. How confident are you as a citizen and a political follower that the Tories could assume government in just one term, which was never done before, Tony?
Oh, very confident. Like, people are ready to get rid of the Liberals right now.
Yeah, and what do you think has been the downfall to the Liberal government in just a matter of three years here after they've taken over the leadership?
Well, it goes from one extreme to the next. 5 weeks after you're in, people were having already complained about it. So, I mean, to me, it's time for them to go. I mean, they're going from, it was, you know, when they hired Burnt Coffee to Ed Martin's contract from the Null Court, when they lied about that. I mean, they're just constant. And now that the latest, what's going on in the House now with this abuse is going on in their own party.
Yeah, I know myself, I've been a lifetime progressive conservative as well, but I also go for individuals that I think are very strong. Myself, Tony, I have endorsed the leadership of, hopefully the new leadership of Tony Wakeham. So right now, what do you feel Saturday night is going to bring us?
Oh, it's going to be stressed, you know, it's going to be stressed and everything, but I'm hoping now that Tony's going to pull out to be the leader of this party, and we can go on and we'll sweep the Liberals on the next election.
I've heard several times, put you right to the task here right now. I've heard several times, several people say, why don't someone that works on the street, works for the party, such as yourself, Tony Imberly, better known as Tony the Tory, why doesn't an individual like that run for the party and bring some common grounds into the party? Would you ever consider yourself as a candidate, Tony?
Not right now, anything would happen down the road. Not right now, you know, I don't know what happened down the road, but right now they got great people coming in the party, and if Tony wins, like on Saturday night, you're going to see a lot more coming out, a lot more. So to me, just getting on there, speaking your mind, and speaking on open line, and just, you know, that's what I like about it. Yeah,
you definitely do your part, and I think our party appreciates that. Tony Wakeham appreciates it. I see next I'll have MHA Brazel on here, and his co-chair off. So anyway, Tony, I thank you for doing the interview. And now, guys, you can put a face to Tony the Tory, who is actually Tony Imberly. Anyway, I'd like to thank Tony the Tory for doing this interview.
Thank you, Gord.
Okay. You know what? The thing is, if you do try to figure out ways to do it,
I'd like to have Mr. Brazel here if I can. Dave, next folks I'm hoping to have here with me is Mr. David Brazel. He is the MHA for Bell Island.
Conception Bay, East Bell Island.
Okay, you get
Beautiful area out there. There it is.
Okay, we're right across the bay from David's hometown of or Bell Island. And anyway, Dave, I gotta get you here better. Anyway, Dave is not only a sitting MHA in government, and I think this is possibly his third term. I believe I mentioned this to him before. But anyway, Dave is also co-chair of the Tony Wakeham campaign, along with former MHA and minister is Susan Sullivan. Dave, from the time you began, Dave, you obviously had to make a tough decision in who you're going to support. Your name has been beaten around for some considerable time. Here we are now, practically, I don't know, Dave, since you started, it will be 4 months. How do you feel it all has gone?
Oh, extremely well. You know, the biggest thing I'm impressed with, there's two key components I'm impressed with, was Tony's energy level and his awareness and his ability to relate to people across the province. But the second is the commitment by the people who've been part of this great team of ours. I mean, second to none. Everybody found a role to play. Everybody went beyond, yeoman's service to ensure that, because they're bought into that Tony's the right candidate here, and that the party needs somebody who can move us to the next level. And that's been, the two things that inspire me the most as part of it. I've got a vested interest. I'm an elected MHA. I want to continue that. It becomes easier if you've got the right leader, and we start to make inroads and we start to attract more candidates and win more seats, and that's part of it. But before you get to that, it becomes a team effort, and Tony's effort to do what needed to be done, but the surrounding cast, everybody who were on the phones, people who got people to sign up, people who were ready to go out and open line and supporting people who were doing things through social media. So we had a great supporting cast for Tony, because they're all bought into this. This is not people who are on in any way, shape or form payroll or any other incentives or any promises. These are people who want to be able to help the PC party and feel that Tony's by far the best candidate to be the leader.
Dave, not only did Tony travel the province, you did a lot of work yourself, and you traveled a lot of the province. What were the people on the street? Dave, I know Dave, guys, is a hockey personality. He can work the high end, and he can work the grandstands, and he can work the stadiums, and he can work the coffee shop. What did you hear? What has I felt myself? He has grown, and people are ready to accept this guy. Unfortunately, our leadership is a bit confined to a degree, and maybe, I don't know how it will unfold, but what I see is, on the street, that Tony Wakeham is very approachable, and people like him.
Very much so, and very relatable. And you're exactly right. As we travel, I mean, one of the strategy we have is that I'd sort of go ahead, 10, 15 minutes into the room, help set up some stuff, and then as people come in, you have a chat, and I'd introduce myself. Some would know who I am. All would know who the name is, but to put a name with a face. Then we'd have a conversation, and the thing was, I hear good things about Tony, but I don't know him, because he was a virtual unknown when it came to the average Joe in the party was. If you were a civil servant, you knew who he was. But at the end of the night, when we'd stay around and having a coffee and having a discussion, it was the opposite then. People would say, you know what? I know what he stands for. I can relate to him. He's the type of person we need. So in an hour presentation and a discussion and his mannerism and how he presents himself, things went from night and day. And it wasn't that they were against him, just they didn't know him. And that was a reality. We knew what the challenge was with Tony as the candidate. He wasn't a household name. But at the end of every evening, people would say, he's a guy who knows exactly what he's doing. They could ask questions. Some actually challenged him on some policies, and he was very diplomatic. But he was statesmanlike, but he was also firm. This is my belief, this is how I would handle things. And nobody got in a confrontation, because the way he handled that proved to me, here's a guy who has a background as a team, a member, as a coach, knows how to knows how to get the best out of people, but at the same time knows how to understand that sometimes you got to push back. You got to push back to the point where here's what we stand for. If you disagree with that, that's fine, but here's my stance. And people respected that. I had nobody come to me and say, you know what, I have no intentions of voting for that guy. I've had a number say, well, I was going to vote another way, but I got to give serious consideration to this guy. I hadn't made up my mind, but I have now for this guy. So it was all positives. It's unfortunate timing and some of the organizational structures that the party had in play didn't allow us to do more of that. Yeah. But what Tony did out there was phenomenal, and I'm glad I had a small part to
be. Well, Dave, I would think that you were privy to all the leadership debates, and I was privy to one out in the goals. I thought that Tony won the leadership debate hands down.
Oh, I agree 100%. And I know I'm wearing a vested interest hat here, but I tried to be objective there, and I sat in the back of the room or stood in the back of the room so I could sort of gauge the room, because we need to come back and either change our approach if it wasn't working. But you could tell not only in how he answered the questions, but the response from the people. The one on the fishery particularly, when the media put out publicly that he's getting his third ovation now now on his stance on the fishery. That speaks volumes there as to what that means to people. When there was no real emotional outburst for the other candidate on any of his policies as part of that. So
that's what I felt, to be honest with you, and I know too. People could be listening in and say, well, Gord, you too endorsed Tony, which I did. But I met both individuals. I had known both individuals. I knew Chess better than actually Tony. But after I met Tony right from the beginning, I felt, this guy could lead this province. So, Dave, right now, it's all in the hands of people that voted. What are you expecting to hear on Saturday night after 6 o'clock when the announcement is made now, Dave?
I'm optimistic on what we've heard from people out there, the people who've signed up, the response, and I know it's been encompassing of the ballot process we had, and that's a little concerning, and it's not necessarily concerning for us as a camp, but it's concerning for motivating people to stay with the party and not be turned off from it. But it is what it is right now, and we can fix those things. I'm very optimistic here. I see the positive here. Tony's done a phenomenal job. The team has done a phenomenal job. People have talked all positive about it. So, I'm looking forward to Tony being announced as the leader, and then in 18 months or so, Tony becoming the Premier of Newfoundland and Labrador.
Anyway, Dave, I got to get to Tony because I got to get back home to get ready for that hockey game. I thank you for all the work that you've done. Tony, I'll have Tony Wakeham here with me next, Dave, and I thought you've been a class act to be involved with. You being as coach here, and again, everywhere Tony went, that you practically could be there. I thought you showed great leadership as well. So anyway, Dave, thanks a lot, and thank you for the interview.
Thanks, Gord, and thanks for you, being out there to be able to put this out to the public so people can make an informed decision. And the Gordcast, as I noticed, every night, thousands of viewers and that, so that's a testament to, you making sure people have the right information to make the right decision.
Okay,
anyway, good luck, Leafs.
Okay, thank you.
Right there,
Okay. Okay, folks, this guy is a little taller than the others got, so I got to move the tripod up a bit. Here with me right now, I have Tony Wakeham, who is vying for the next leadership of the Progressive Conservative Party of Newfoundland and Labrador. This Saturday, we will all know who the new winner is. Anyway, Tony, you've done a lot of work, and how do you feel at this point, Tony?
Well, before I start, Gord, it's good to be back on the podcast again. Last time me and you did this, we were outside St. Lawrence looking down at that soccer field of yours.
Yeah,
where you spent many a day. And it was a nice day that day, and it's a great day here again today.
When I started off my Gordcast and I went to St. Lawrence, one individual came up and said to me, "Why don't you call this the Fogcast?"
No, we had a sunny day then. We had a great day.
We had a great day. Anyway, Tony, what's your feeling right now? What have you seen in the past 4 months?
Well, I've been very blessed, Gord, first of all, to get the support of the people around me that encouraged me to run for this leadership. And then even more blessed with the team of people who volunteered their time and effort to come and support me in this. Because without that team behind me, I would have not been able to do this. And they've been amazing. Every single day, as Ann was alluding to, people in our office, all volunteers, answering phones, talking on the phones, getting the vote out. I also want to reach out and thank the 11,000 plus people who registered to vote for this leadership, and thank them on behalf of the PC party for doing that. And it bodes well for the PC party on a go-forward basis.
Well, I think as well, Tony, not only you being a great candidate, you with the guidance of your co-chairs of David Brassel and Susan Sullivan, obviously you've been guided in the right direction here, Tony?
Absolutely. There's lots of issues here in this province that we have to deal with, but we can't keep looking backwards. We have to look ahead, and I think that that's what the province wants. The people of this province have not been happy with their current government, and we need to change that. We do not have to continue to be unhappy with the government. We can change it, and we will change it.
Throughout the past 4 months, and probably even more so after Christmas when you got in high gear, what would be the main 1 or 2 issues that you feel the people have brought forward to you and asked you there that the people are just not satisfied? What would be the thing that you would put on number 1 priority?
I think the big fear for people is the fear that somehow or other the province was going to go bankrupt and their electricity rates were going to double. And we've now even seen the Liberals acknowledge that that's not going to happen. It doesn't need to happen. And at the end of the day, this province is not going to go bankrupt. We have tremendous assets that we have in this province, as long as we don't try to sell them off and to get short-term gain. We need to be in this for the long run. And so that will be our plan on a go-forward basis. We'll get through this with the support of the people of Newfoundland and Labrador, and we will build the province up, not tear it down.
Yeah. The process, I'm hearing on the street, a lot of people are questioning the process in regards to identification cards. After they first were registered, and a lot of people said, you know, why would the party do this? Did you or your, I guess your closely associates have any direct influence in how the ballots would be cast?
No, that was up to the election committee of the party. All that was determined before the candidates and was told for both candidates. I think the party will learn from the process and find a way to simplify it in the future. It has its drawbacks. It also has its support. It gets more people involved, but a lot of people like the traditional convention style. So I think we have to find a combination of both methods that somehow or other results in a bigger opportunity for people to gather and celebrate.
Earlier, David Brazel said, I believe the registration were upwards of 11,000 people who registered. Are you privy to how many have voted?
No, I wouldn't have that information.
Will you be privy prior to or only when the announcement is made?
I'll be like everyone. I won't know a thing until the announcement's actually made.
Yeah. So this here tonight, and I know you had a number of gatherings throughout, and obviously Anne Ring and Ed done a lot. This here just shows to me of the greatness of, I guess, of the strength that you work. You work, like you say, you are a leader even from me following you through your CEO of Grenfell, Labrador, and during your basketball, head of basketball Newfoundland, Labrador, head of basketball Canada. You know, I just feel yourself, Tony, and by who you surround yourself is a big strength that I've seen that you have, dear Tony.
Well, Gord, I've been very fortunate to be able to live and work all over this province of ours, and in doing so, I've got to meet some very special people and outstanding people. And I can tell you right now, I'm here this evening surrounded by a whole bunch of those very special and outstanding people, and I'm just glad to be part of their team. Yeah. As much as they are glad to be part of mine.
Yeah, and I felt that, and I felt, like you say, and I know myself, getting to know David Brazel more and more by the day, that as he can relate to the, I guess, the voters of Newfoundland and Labrador, I just think you have the same strength, and as all I can say is, because I will be trying to get back home to watch a game. Again, I would thank Ed and Anne for having this social here. I thank the people that gather here. And I want to hear a big round of applause for Tony Wakeham, and we hope who is going to be the next leader of Newfoundland and Labrador. Thank you very much.
Okay, folks, it's been a great evening here at Ed and Ann Ring's home, where they had deep fried fish and they had homemade French fries. On behalf of the Tony Wakeham campaign, I thank the hosts for this evening. I thank Tony, I thank David Brazel, thank everyone for coming, and I thank the beautiful waters that have been overlooking all evening here in Conception Bay. So anyway, thank you, and I'll be on to the game here shortly. Thank you kindly.